answer lies in the heart of battle.
King of Iron Fist Tournament.
Mugen TV versus Corner.
Welcome to the stage of history retold.
Hey guys, it's MugenLord here, and I'm back again with another video. And today we're going to talk about Street Fighter V Champion Edition, because if you guys don't know, Capcom yesterday had given us a winter update for Street Fighter V to let us know what's going on with the 5th and final season of the game as far as characters, game, and gameplay mechanics. And I must say that, hey, I'm super impressed. I haven't really played much Street Fighter V, even though I've recently bought it on the PC, but these new changes that's being implemented into the game does have me excited and quite intrigued of what's going to happen in the future of the game and how this new meta is going to evolve Street Fighter V while we wait for a potential Street Fighter 6. So we're going to dive right into it. So if you haven't seen it, I'll post a link in the description so you'll be able to check out the update for yourself. But I'll break down some of the aspects that I took from it and that I enjoyed the most. So for starters, they did open up with a reveal gameplay of Rose. Yes, I'm a Rose main. I've been maining Rose since Street Fighter Alpha, and now they pretty much revealed her just now for Street Fighter V. And right now she's in the, I guess you could say, the alpha or beta phases right now, so she's not really completed. So what you see right now can most likely change farther down the line when we actually get the official reveal of the character. And she also gets her own stage, which is the stage similar that was found in Street Fighter Alpha 2. So I'm glad to see her there, and her gameplay mechanics, as typical as she is definitely Rose. Now the thing about Rose in this iteration, because they seem to take a lot of the original characters and did tweak them up just a bit to make them feel just a little bit different and everything. Now, for starters, if you guys notice, she no longer has her anti-air where she flies into the air. Instead, they changed it where she actually throws her scarf into the air and pull you out from the sky, which I think is also pretty cool. And it's also really, really fast compared to the original anti-air that she has, where she flies up into the air and tries to grab you. I really like this scarf effect much better, because it keeps her planted on the ground. Because I remember trying to land that anti-air, like where she flies into the air, the original one. If you missed, you was getting punished really hard. So for them to have her grounded and just throw the scarf in the air, I think is pretty cool. Also, as far as her V skills are concerned, she has this one V skill, which is her V skill for V trigger for the V trigger 1, where she actually uses one of her cards and it actually gives her a buff where she can pretty much charge up her V gauge, and the longer she holds it, she can pretty much charge it up even farther and even faster, and she does charge it a great deal faster. Now V trigger, as I explained later on with the new gameplay mechanics, I think this is a pretty good V skill right here as far as that's concerned when it comes to the V gauge and everything. And also she can take her card and she can debuff her opponent. Now what does this debuff do? They didn't really describe or really explain what the debuff does to the opponent, but they do light up green, so I'm guessing that it may affect their V gauge in some particular way. And then she also have this new ability where she can cast an orb onto the stage, and you can be able to create ideal mix-up situations as well. You can plant them in back of your opponent, plant them in front of them. You can throw your soul spark out there to pretty much trap them, so you go in with a jump, like a light jump attack, heavy attack to keep the pressure going on. And then of course she has our other V skill where she has the soul satellite, and she's able to pretty much summon. She's able to pretty much summon 2 of her orbs at a time, which that's also pretty cool. Now if you remember, that was always her super, the soul satellite, where she had the 2 orbs, or it was actually 3 orbs, where she allowed to apply pressure. But now they actually made that a V skill. Now it seemed as though from looking at the footage it doesn't really last that long, but you're still able to get some pretty cool combos and mix-ups out of that if you apply a lot of her new setups that she has in this version of the game. And then of course she has another ability where she's able to teleport if you use that V skill, which is able to teleport across the field as well. So you can be able to use Soul Spark, teleport, or set an orb, Soul Spark, teleport. So it's all type of mix up. So she's going to be she's going to be pretty tough to, I would say pretty tough to deal with. Once you, especially if you playing against a good Rose player, where she's going to have a lot of mix-ups and a lot of tricky situations that you have to look out for, especially if you apply the teleport and everything, which I think is pretty cool. And then she also has her super where she has the Mirage, of herself, which adds on double the damage, which I always loved in Street Fighter Alpha because it was really deadly. So kudos to Rose. Can't wait to see what more they'll do to flesh out the character. Now, one gripe I do have with the character, I don't really like her idol stance, her fighter stance. I like her original fighter stance in Street Fighter Alpha, but like I said, this is just a early build, so they can easily change that. I just feel as though that, I don't know, it looks kind of weird, her stance and everything. She looks a little too stiff. I wish they would have stuck to the original, but who knows, it could possibly change. But that's pretty much it for Rose. I'm definitely looking forward to more information of what they're going to do with Rose, and look at how she finally looks once they finally add more shadow effects to her and to her character model and everything. And I do appreciate the fact that they actually show behind the scenes with the mocap to show how they got Rose animations made and everything, which I think is pretty cool. So then after that, they showed off Dan Hibiki, he's the man of the show, because he's going to be the one that's going to be pretty much released on February 22nd for this season of Street Fighter V. And Dan's always been the troll character, the funny character, the joke character. But if you put him in the right hands, Dan can be a pretty tricky character, a pretty tough character to deal with in the right hands. And it seems as though that they put a lot of effort and love into Dan. He has a lot of nice little tricks that he have up his sleeve. He also have like a fake that he does where he pretty much throws his hand out, and you can cancel it into, you know, specials. You can cancel it into a heavy crouch attack and do all sorts of mix-ups, which I think is pretty interesting. And then he also have a move where he's able to roll onto the ground. He also has a 1 V gauge, and that 1 V gauge is used for his Kadoken, where he can actually charge it up. If he charges it up long enough and let it go, it can actually break your guard, and it opens your opponent up for some devastating combos that you can pretty much launch with Dan. So Dan is really looking cool. He's really looking fun. I do like his different costumes that he has. He has a Tengu mask, which I think is pretty cool that they gave to Dan. But Dan overall, he looks really exciting. And then when he uses his V trigger, his hands has electric to it, and it adds properties to his Kadoken, to his anti-air. So it gives him a lot of tools that's available to him to use, which I think is pretty cool for the character. So I can't wait to see what players do with Dan. I know there's a lot of Dan fans out there as well who like to troll with the character because of how fun the character is and how much of a parody of the character is for the Street Fighter community. So I can't wait to see some nasty combos. It seems like they do want to make him not just a troll character anymore, but a character that you can actually do quite a bit of damage with in this game. So I'm definitely looking forward to see what they do with Dan. But let's address the main thing that really got me excited for this new update for Season 5 of Street Fighter V Champion Edition, and that's the new gameplay mechanics. They did hint that a new gameplay mechanic was on the way, and they finally showed it off. Now, this gameplay mechanic is called V-Shift. Now, V-Shift, to me, I think, in my opinion, and a lot of other players are saying it too, that this is actually a game-changing gameplay mechanic. This will shake up Street Fighter V and even make it even more interesting to watch, and it also puts a lot more strategy and depth in the gameplay for pro players and just Street Fighter fans alike. Now, what V-Shift does is it's actually a defense mechanic added to the game. Because with Street Fighter V, Street Fighter V, I would say is the most offense-heavy Street Fighter game out of all of them. It's very offense-heavy, a lot of combos, a lot of pressure. Especially you can put a lot of players in a lot of 50-50s, unblockables, and everything like that. So a lot of it was hard to deal with. Even with your V reversal, which you have to sacrifice a meter to do, even if V reversals wasn't even satisfactory or it really didn't get the job done, and at times, to me, in my opinion, I feel like it was of V gauge to even waste on a V reversal, because it really didn't do much, and actually in some situations it even sets you up to be opened up even more. So to me it seemed like this was another layer of depth that they added in the defense mechanic area, which we definitely need as players in order to break free from some of the pressure, some of that heavy pressure that your opponents can put on you. So what the V shift actually does is, when you're in your normal state, when you activate V shift, you have to sacrifice one of your V gauges, and your character will pretty much glow blue, kind of like an Ultra Instincts, where your character has some invincibility from anti-air projectiles, all kinds of attacks, and allows you to dodge your opponent's attacks, and it puts you in a slow motion sequence, and then you're allowed to counteract whatever your opponent throws out by sacrificing one of your meters, which I think is pretty interesting. And what I like about it is now you have a new mind game that's added to it, because there's a lot of guaranteed situations, pressure situations that your opponents can put you in. Once they set it up, it's pretty much you can't do nothing. Like, once they get you, is pretty much guaranteed damage. Now that this is in here, players that's putting the pressure on you now have to really watch out for this V shift, because you can automatically turn the tides. Now they have to be careful with the pressure that they're applying to you, and if they're fully committed to the pressure, then they're definitely in danger. So there's going to be a lot of strategy and a lot of back and forth, because what's also interesting about it is, even though you do the V shift, it also puts you out of danger, but also doesn't put you in an advantage state for you to capitalize. So they have this other mechanic called V shift break. So after you pretty much essentially use V shift, you can activate another attack within the V shift to allow you to put you back in range to counteract your opponent, which is also interesting. So as I said before, this is another mind game, and this is another way to utilize your V gauge, because now you have to think, should I use my V gauge to pretty much use a V reversal, or should I save my V gauge to activate my V trigger? And you have other characters who essentially need the V gauge to perform certain attacks and certain abilities. So now you have to really take it under consideration. Should I use the V shift, or should I just eat the hit and just save my V gauge for something else that could come into handy? So that's where that balance and that mind game comes into play. Not only that, just because you use the V shift is not a get out of jail free card. It's because even though you use your V shift and you can cancel into a V shift break, your opponent can then counteract with their own V shift and go into their own V shift break. So they can V shift your V shift. So it's a whole new meta that's going to be added to the game. And not only that, they also had to rebalance the game entirely, for the simple fact was that now with this V shift mechanic, it also helps out a lot of characters that have exploitable weaknesses, like to the point where these characters are vulnerable to a lot of matchups. So now that you have the V shift in there, it takes a lot of characters that's at the bottom of the tier list or had exploitable weaknesses and actually pushes them up to the top. So now they have to rebalance the whole cast, is because characters that's already strong and you give them a V shift, it makes them even stronger. So now they have to balance the characters out even more to make it even playing field and everything. So that is definitely pretty good. Now I can V shift to get away from a command grab, or especially the Karen pressure from Laura. So this is definitely serious news right here, and this is exciting news, and I definitely can't wait to see what pro players do with this new mechanic. I can imagine what these people can do, like going back and forth with these V shifts and also the V shift breaks, which is going to be definitely cool. And also now they fixed a lot of the characters to even be able to do more devastating combos with their new combo trees that they were able to demonstrate with Nikali, Nash, Alex, Chun-Li, Ryu, and a few other characters. Jury, even Jory's V trigger too, looks pretty dope, and with the moves that you can consistently do with her as well. So this is like, it's going to be a totally entirely different beast of what they're going to come up with this new season, in the 5th and final season of Street Fighter V. But before I wrap this up, they also revealed one last thing. that 12 is going to be a bonus character. That's right, 12 from Third Strike is going to be a bonus character, but he's not a character that you would expect him to be. Now, a lot of people was expecting him to be a fresh character, his Third Strike incarnation, but instead he's actually a random select character. 12 is more like a Mokujin character, like from Tekken, where Mokujin pretty much copies the abilities of other characters and everything. Well, that's what 12 essentially does. He's a random select character where he takes the shape or form of any character during like any match. Before the match start, you'll see him transform to any character. So people who love to do random select might have an interesting twist they can do, because now you have a character model that represents random select, and he's actually 12 within the Street Fighter, universe. And also he has the skin color, the eyes, and the voice modulation is also added to this character as well, which so I think is pretty unique. Could they have actually used 12 as a character? They could, but to me, I think that'd be a waste of slot. I mean, 12 to me wasn't really he was weird for a Street Fighter character. He seemed like he would fit more in like a Guilty Gear game or something like that. And his moveset wasn't all that interesting to me, but to utilize him in a way where he can mimic other characters and everything, I think that's pretty dope. That's pretty dope. But that pretty much wraps up this video. I definitely want to hear your thoughts and what do you think about Street Fighter V, the 5th season, the 5th and final season. There's a lot more we need to talk about, and I'll leave that for a later video. What's the final character that we can expect, and also what's the future of Street Fighter as far as Street Fighter 6 is concerned. But definitely leave your thoughts in the comment section below. I would definitely appreciate the feedback and what you think about everything that we had discovered with Street Fighter V Champion Edition. So this was MugenLord signing off. I'll see you Game Fiends later. Peace out.